Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Liz Mangus, Literacy Specialist with Saddleback Educational Publishing. And as you are logging in today, please be sure to locate your control bar at the bottom of your web browser window. That is where you will find your chat, the Q&A, and the live transcript option for today's session. We'll get started right at 3 o'clock Eastern time, but let me give you a little bit of information first, and then I'll bring our presenter in and we'll see how she's doing. So many of you are familiar with how to chat and how to use Zoom webinar. We will be asking you to engage with us today and utilize that chat. So please make sure that you select all panelists and attendees from the drop-down in the chat area so that everybody joining us today can see what it is you'd like to share. Also, we have a jam-packed session for you today. So if you have questions, please make sure that you enter those into the Q&A area, and we will compile those. And then our presenter will take a look at those after our session today and answer them and provide some additional resources, and then we'll email those out to you. So if you could put your questions in the Q&A area or the chat, either way, and we'll compile them and make sure that you get your questions answered. Another thing is to click on live transcript and then select show subtitles if you'd like to take advantage of some captioning today. That option is now embedded here in Zoom. So we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Let's say hi to Dr. Cathy Perez. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super. I'm awesome. I'm excited. And I just saw we've got a guest from Indonesia. We've got Shirley from Virginia. We got people all over the planet. So welcome, everyone. It's
Yes.
going to be an exciting hour.
I am always so honored when people are able to take some time from their workday to join us. And if you're catching the recording later, hey, we love you too. We're not leaving you out. We're glad that you join us no matter how you do it. But for those of us here today who are able to jump on live, a special shout out to you because you are the ones who kind of make the energy and the flow of these sessions work so well. Dr. Cathy Perez and Saddleback are both on Twitter, so you can follow us there, say hello, let us know that you joined us for this session today. We always appreciate getting a chance to connect with you on social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right, so it is just about time to start. So let me go ahead and formally introduce everybody. Our topic today is self-regulation skills for helping our students succeed. Now, this was a special request from the last webinar that Dr. Perez did when she was here with us. Everybody loved it so much and they had specific questions and they wanted this topic. So she's so kind and generous with her knowledge that she agreed to come back and share this with you. So let me formally introduce her. Dr. Catherine Perez is a professor of education at St. Mary's College of California, and she has over 3 decades of teaching experience from the preschool level through graduate school. A frequent presenter and enthusiastic teacher cheerleader, you're going to see that today. She offers guidance to both novice and experienced educators. She is an international education consultant, author, and motivational speaker, specializing in instructional strategies and creative approaches to literacy and professional development. She integrates state-of-the-art methods and research with passion and practical insights from her own classroom experiences. Now, I could go on and on because she has been doing this and she's, you name it, she's been there, she's done that. Preschool, graduate school, teacher, principal, district level. So she knows her stuff. Thank you, Dr. Perez, for joining us today. I'm going to let you go ahead and take it from here.
All right. Thank you, Liz. And thank everyone who is here today. Let me get my screen up for sharing. There we go. Yes, indeed. All right. Yes, it's all about self-regulation skills. Now, what the heck does that mean? It sounds pretty fancy. Well, I want to welcome you all. And it's all about helping all students succeed, no matter what their entry point to learning is. We're here to embrace all learners. So with that in mind, I'm just going to say howdy to all of you from every part of the planet. I understand we have over 300 registered today for today's webinar. And so if you're here in person live, just tell us in the chat box where you're from and what you do, because today's webinar is for all kinds of educators, whether you're a classroom teacher, a paraprofessional, an administrator, a higher educator, a teacher educator, a paraprofessional, whatever your role is, a therapist, perhaps. We're glad you're here, and you'll get some ideas for sure. Ideas you hear today and can use tomorrow, because that's the name of the game. Stuff you can use. Amen. Raise your hand up high and proud. Whether you're here, there, or anywhere on the planet, raise that hand up high and proud. Bend it at the elbow and pat yourself on the back. You made it. You made it. I'm so proud of you. We're here to share the magic today. And as Liz mentioned, I have been sharing the magic with children all over this planet for the last 30 plus years. But the real magic in the classroom is not in the new language arts series or the math program. The real magic is in each and every one of you and the passion you bring to the greatest profession on earth. A huge thank you to Saddleback Publishing for hosting this event. And this is not going to be a sit and get kind of presentation. So you're going to need some low-tech tools, folks. Yep. I want you to get out a pad of paper. Oh, yeah. And a low-tech tool like, believe it or not, a pen or a pencil, because I'm going to ask you to jot some things down and to interact. I miss so much interactive, full participation, in-person teaching, but I do invite you to be fully present today. Go all in and have no fear. If you don't get, my pacing is quite swift because I'm going to pack in 33 strategies in the next 58 minutes. Oh, yes. So if you don't get to jot them all down, have no fear. I have provided you with a free downloadable handbook, 30 pages of additional resources, ideas, and reproducibles for your classroom. All I ask of you is to have fun, to communicate and learn with respect from each other. All ideas are welcome. And when Liz or I give you the cue to put something in the chat box, please don't hesitate. Join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. As she mentioned, for me to pack in 33 ideas in less than 60 minutes, we're going to hold off on the questions until afterwards. You can put them in the Q&A or you can put them in the chat box. Liz will accumulate them all as she has for me in the past for my webinars. And then methodically and thoughtfully, I will respond to your questions, all of them, I promise, and give you additional resources. So have no fear. Here we go. Oh, as part of the registration process, there was a little form you fill out and it said, do you have any questions for the presenter? A teacher in the Philippines had a question, how do you handle helicopter parents? You know, those overbearing type of parents. Well, I do whole workshops on dealing with parents, but in a nutshell, our job is to empower kids, not enable them. So we need to have our helicopter parents chill out. We need to teach our kids how to regulate their own behavior. It's got to be an inclusive setting in our classroom, no matter where our classroom is on this planet. It's got to be inclusive. The key word that emerges from inclusion is us. And that's what brings us together today. And this comes from a former special education teacher, because I know that we are here, each and every one of us, to make learning more memorable. I want to thrive, not just survive in the classroom. Some teachers ask me, do you ever perk down? And I say, nay, nay, nay. You got to do what you love and love what you do. And I love being with you today. So whether you are Zoomies and still on a virtual platform instructing your students, or whether you're roomies and see them face to face, this workshop is for you. It's all about success. Get your fist bump ready like this little dude is. At the count of 3, I want you to shout success. 1, 2, 3, success. 1, 2, 3, success. Oh yeah, that's what today is about. Now, the Olympics may be over, but the celebration of your strengths have just begun, and it continues as the new school year starts. What do you deserve a gold medal for? Just asking. Please put your responses in the chat box. What do you deserve a gold medal for? Now, I'll give you an example. I deserve a gold medal for, now, keep in mind, this pandemic has kept me inside a little bit more than I'm used to. So I tend to gravitate towards some sweet treats, let's just say, in the refrigerator. So I've become a master gold medal winner on the best ice cream scooper in this planet. Oh yes, I love ice cream. So that's my gold medal. Anybody else got something they care to share? What do you deserve a medal for? What are you best at? Now keep in mind, it does not have to be sports. It does not have to be, you do not have to be a great athlete, as I just demonstrated. So Liz, could you do a shout out of a few of the responses in the chat?
Oh, I would love to. I have people saying, I deserve a gold medal for being a team member. I'm a gold medal winner at eating healthy. I volunteered crazy amounts of hours, so I'm a gold medal at that. Gold medal for going outside of my comfort zone. Some people are eating ice cream right now. We're all about it. We love that.
Well, I'm going to give you and everybody else the clapper, because that is so wonderful. I'm going to raise the roof and salute you all. And yes, you got to get used to my tools, toys, and props. I teach a lot with tools, toys, and props, being a former special ed teacher and a former ESL teacher, English as a second language. So just deal with it. And those of you in secondary, those kids respond just as much to my props as the little ones do. So our roadmap today includes many different destinations. I use the analogy of a roadmap when I design my agenda, because we need to teach with the end in mind. What is it I want my students to learn, and how can I navigate them to get there? Now, in a classroom of diverse learners, we may need to take some detours along the way. we may need to accelerate through certain aspects. And that's cool. That's what differentiation is all about. So these are my destinations for you today. And here are my main outcomes. And definitely practical interventions. Remember, I promised you stuff you could use, practical interventions for your classroom, school, or home. Yes, parents, you're welcome for this workshop as well. The impact of self-regulation on the brain and strategies to develop executive function skills. Here's my brain, folks. And multiple ways to develop coping skills in kids. And boy, do we need that ever so much now. I promise you toolkits, ideas you can use today, here today, and use tomorrow. All right, now how are you going to keep track of all these ideas? Well, I invite you to create an A to Z listing. This is our first strategy of the day. So just get a sheet of paper, start with A all the way down to Z, and this will be used as a summarizer activity at the end of our webinar today. So keep track of ideas that you hear along the way that are keepers for you, key ideas that are keepers for you, your students, your classroom, your community. And you put them according to the first letter of that strategy. But this is called A to Z list. It's a way to help your students become more organized in their note-taking as well. Liz mentioned a little bit about my background, and indeed, I kind of hate to say it, but I've kind of done it all. I've been an administrator, a classroom teacher, a general ed teacher, and then I had kids I just couldn't reach. You ever got kids you just can't reach? Amen to that. So that got me curious and went back and got my degree in special education, taught that for several years. And now I have the honor and blessing of teaching teachers at St. Mary's College of California, nestled in the hills about 30 miles east of San Francisco. But I don't stay put very long. I like to celebrate the diversity of all of our students around the planet. And just to let you know, this was all pre-pandemic, but there I am in China, working with the teachers there. And I did a keynote special ed conference in Qatar. I'm coordinating a conference currently in Pakistan and Singapore. I teach in the Dominican Republic. I do volunteer work there, helping kids unpack the English language. I did a special ed conference in Cape Town, South Africa. And the reason I share this is look at the smiles on those kids and look at the condition of their school. Can you believe it? It doesn't diminish their happiness. So your passion is what makes the difference in your classroom community. It's not the building that you teach. Now, sometimes, just saying, sometimes I try to press the pause button and write down my ideas. So I've got several best-selling books, including the brain-friendly tools and strategies, because the importance of brain breaks you will soon see, and state changes are absolutely imperative. So I also have 200 proven strategies for teaching reading and literacy. I also was currently I'm an instructional coach in literacy. The new inclusion differentiated strategies for all learners, and the co-teaching book of lists. Woohoo! Hot off the press this year. Oh yeah. Social emotional learning toolbox. Oh yeah, you're gonna wanna have this if you're interested in this topic. Now I got a question for you. I got a question. What is the most important condition for learning? What do you think it is? If the spirit moves you, you can type it in the chat box. But for the sake of time, it's all about student engagement. You know, we get so caught up with what am I going to cover? What am I going to cover? What am I going to cover? Instead of what am I going to uncover today? What am I going to help the students discover today? And that's where we've got to shift our attention. Here goes another question for you. What are the most important qualities for success? And you're in the right place at the right time. Jot your answers in the chat. Confidence and social skills. Oh yeah, so important. It's all about engaging the brain. And what do I mean by that? Well, have no fear. Brain floss is here. I invite you to keep an open mind today, clear out the cobwebs, and keep it open for new ideas. It's all about engaging the brain. Now you might laugh, but brain floss, hey, you use dental floss, why not brain floss? It's a great attention getter in the classroom. My friends in Australia, I do a lot of work there, sent me this cartoon. If the bum is numb, the brain is the same. So hopefully your bum is not numb today, because learning is not a spectator sport. So what is in your brain today about self-regulation? Oh yeah, I got a fun little brain ball here. And on page 2 in your downloadable handout, and just in case you haven't downloaded it yet, it'll look like this, is a window pane activity. Why do I call it a window pane? Because it's in 4 quadrants, similar to a window pane. And it's a great structure, a great strategy to use to prime the pump and to harvest their background knowledge about a topic. You can put whatever prompt you want in the window panes. And you could, for instance, if we had more time, I usually do this as a full day workshop, just saying. In this quadrant, we jot down what we think it is and why do we think it's important. In this quadrant, we draw a picture or a symbol or an icon for it. That's for the visual learners in our webinar today. Here is a place where you get to celebrate your own best practice. What do you currently do to reach the needs of your students to help them regulate themselves? And in this quadrant, what questions do you have? What do you need to know? Now, again, this activity, window pane, is good for the roomies and the zoomies. It's a quick write activity. So typically, depending on the age and ability level of my students, I might give them 30 seconds per quadrant. And then if we're a Zoomy class, a virtual setting, I would have them share in their breakout rooms. And if we are a roomie class, Zoomies or roomies, and a roomie class, in-person instruction, I'd have the kids leap out of their seat and share their ideas. It's kind of a fun way to do it. But let's just set the tone now on why self-regulation is so fundamental and so important. And I'm going to play for you just a brief little video clip. I keep the emphasis on brief because our time is limited and I don't want your brains to zone out. Whoops, that was a bit too brief. Let's get that little carrot up there. Here we go.
Successful people have strong self-regulation skills. They use them every day. The skills help them consciously direct, sustain, and shift their attention when necessary. They help them monitor and manage their thoughts, behavior, and emotions in this complicated world of ours. 3 of the self-regulation skills, known as executive function skills, are cognitive. These are used to monitor and manage attention, thoughts, and behavior. A 4th self-regulation skill is the ability to monitor and manage emotions. These skills are not inborn, but they are teachable. And we depend on them every day, especially when the going gets rough. Just like adults, when students are upset or angry, it's hard for them to use their executive function skills because their strong emotions take over. This can also make it difficult for them to listen, remember rules, and stay focused on learning. So, learning to monitor and manage emotions allows students to recognize their strong feelings and use strategies to calm down. Then, they can use their executive function skills again. And research shows students with strong self-regulation skills have higher academic achievement and are less likely to act in impulsive or aggressive ways, or to withdraw when overwhelmed. They're also more likely to get along well with others and have strong social skills. Students with poor self-regulation skills can have emotional and behavioral problems and academic trouble and are more likely to be expelled from school, starting as early as preschool. When students learn and practice self-regulation skills, they can build academic achievement, social competence, and positive growth throughout their lives.
All right. Okay, and don't worry about taking down the source of any of these videos because I've got plenty of resources listed for you in your downloadable handout. So self-regulation, just to be clear here, since we didn't get to harvest all your notions about it, is a part of a bigger concept, and that would be executive functioning of the brain. And deficits in executive function skills can be found quite often in students with learning disabilities, students with ADHD, on the autism spectrum, students with Tourette's or obsessive compulsive disorders, etc. So it just seems to be a bit more prevalent in students with special needs. So why then is it so important? It's important for all of our kids because of the reasons listed here and the reasons brought out in that brief little video. Indeed, it is essential. It's absolutely essential. So what do you do? This little dude is frustrated. Well, we've got to pay attention to how we can adjust curriculum. I do a lot of work in Singapore, and these are some of my Singapore students. And we've got to pay attention to how can we meet individual needs. Oh, there goes that differentiation again. Remember, we're going back to our major focus, helping all students succeed. And I think you've been sitting for a while now. So these teachers in Hong Kong recently, high school teachers, are all up there doing a break chant with me. That's me up in front there. And I want your left hand up, your right hand down, quiver the right up to the left like so. Whoa, yeah. Break chant time, brain break time. Oh, yeah. And while you're doing that, I want you to chant, all students can succeed in my classroom, and do your chant. Whoa, yeah. Okay, thank you. I don't have a visual picture of all of you doing that, but I can imagine, and I trust that you would be doing that because we all need brain breaks. Where do you start? This lady is saying, how do you start? Where do you begin? You start small. one step at a time, one strategy at a time. What does the research say? Well, a good place to start is to help our kids get organized. Yep, by giving them an agenda, something very simple. And secondary teachers, you got it made in the shade. You only have 47 minutes, maybe 48 to plan and to do your agenda. Elementary, primary teachers, you got the whole day there. So let me give you an example of a whole day schedule. But using an agenda of the day's lesson makes learning more relevant to the student, and it takes the mystery, the guesswork out of the day. So it's like previews of coming attractions. And so this is what one teacher did, and she used her pocket chart and picture icons for the younger primary set. I also want to share with you another strategy I've found very successful, especially with the advent of superheroes, is to have power cards. Now, maybe Dora the Explorer isn't your typical superhero, but she resonates a lot with some of our younger kids. And for the older kids, you could use Batman, Superman, you name it. And what you provide on these power cards is a brief scenario describing how the hero, the superhero in this case, solves a typical problem without freaking out. And it recaps how the students then can use that same strategy to solve a similar problem. So it's just a little deck of cards. Another activity I found very helpful for my students to do is we would do it as a class activity so that everybody would brainstorm ideas, and then kids would take off and do their own independent T chart. Now the T chart is simply a chart that is just folded in half, a typical sheet of paper, and on one side you put appropriate, on the other side inappropriate. So when making decisions, when something is happening, what is an appropriate response versus an inappropriate response? So T-charts help our students learn. I also cannot emphasize enough the importance of starting each and every day with a morning meeting. And yes, even secondary teachers, at the beginning of your classroom day, I'll show you what a secondary teacher did. But for the younger kids, you could say, what is your weather report today? Are you bright and sunny, or are you cloudy? Are you stormy? How are you feeling? Now, a lot of times kids can get behind the weather report idea. But what this secondary teacher did this was a special ed classroom. She had the kids as they entered her class, because it was very short. So she didn't have a lot of time for her weather report. So what she did is prepared a chart in advance, and they would just take a Post-it note with their name on it and slap it on the feeling that they are current state of mind. I'm great, I'm okay, I'm struggling, I'm having a bad day, I'm in a dark place. Now, as educators, we want to know that. We want to feel the pulse of our students as they enter our classroom. So at a glance, she can see who needs a little bit more attention. Even the media is getting behind emotions, as the Pixar movie just came out a couple of years ago now. And also the Muppets have something to say. Having a chart of feelings is a great way for kids to be able to express how they're doing. You can even create an art project and have them create a mood monster. A mood monster that's happy, sad, mad, or glad. Oh yeah, they have a lot of fun with this. And using social scripts, role play, and easy to interpret visual supports and social stories for them to glean, how would I react in this situation? And what are some other alternatives? And it's also a great catalyst for a class discussion. Now, as much as it's important to set forth an agenda, sometimes there's change of schedule. Sometimes there's fire drills. Sometimes there's assemblies. We don't know. And there are surprises to us just as much as the kids. So it's kind of cool to have a deck of surprise cards. Here's Einstein being playful and freaky, or even Yoda. And Yoda says, changes are okay. Surprises are okay too. And so when changes in the schedule occur that can't be predicted, deal them a surprise card, and it helps to chill them out. Another very important activity that I'm happy to share the details and send you a black line master if you'd like for your class is the Sox Worksheet. Now, what does that stand for? The S is the situation. So you have the kids list, and again, I'm very happy to send this to you, the worksheet. For instance, the situation, Matt says during science, the kid next to him doesn't like him and thinks he's stupid. So the who is Matt, the when is science class, the why is he doesn't like me, he thinks I'm stupid during class. The when is during class. Options. The options include, Matt jotted down, I would ignore him. I could tell him hello. I could say, what's up? I could call him a name and tell him to stop looking at me. Okay. The C stands for consequences. Consequences, he might stop on his own. You might make a friend. He might make a friend with you, or you could escalate and start a fight. The strategy is, what's up? What's up? And then you follow it with a simulation or a role play so you could unpack this very common scenario situation. So it's called the Sox approach. Also, it's important to have your kids do some self-assessment and say, are they ready to work? Do they have good work habits? You know, a lot of times it's all about being explicit. What are good work habits? As adults, we've learned these along the way through trial and error, but a lot of our kids don't have that luxury of learning them along the way. So explicitly teaching them and providing them with checklists for good work habits is a helpful tool to have. If you would like any of these checklists, just let me know. Also, having the kids express their feelings or retelling what happened by drawing out the situation using cartoons or stick figures. What happened first, then next, and how did it resolve itself? Cartooning is a fun way for kids to get their feelings out. I recommend having break boxes available. What are break boxes? They're nothing more than sensory toolkits. If you would like a list of what you could put into your sensory toolkit, all you got to do is email me. My email is on your handout. It's also on page 30 of your downloadable handout as well. Just a little helpful hint, the dollar store has lots of good stuff for a sensory toolkit. Now, the importance of teacher modeling cannot be overemphasized. So let's take a virtual field trip and visit a classroom where the teacher is modeling self-regulation for her students. Here
My body is so steady and calm because your bodies are so steady.
Being able to teach children how to manage their emotions is actually a very important pathway to intellectual learning, because if you can't manage your feelings, it's hard to open up your brain to be able to receive the content that you're trying to learn.
I do a lot of work around self-awareness and being able to name emotions and then make a choice around those. You have a large range of emotions during a school day working with children. Some are completely joyful and so exciting, and some are really frustrating or incredibly disheartening. When you talk when I'm talking, it feels like you're not ready to listen to me. So one of the most authentic ways for me to help them expand their own vocabulary is to use my personal experience with my own emotions in the classroom. When people start talking about other things while I'm still giving directions, it feels frustrating for me and I have to take a breath, catch myself, and say, it's okay, I'm gonna try again.
One of the critical features of learning is modeling. We learn by watching others. In this classroom, we see the teacher modeling her recognition of her emotions and also modeling how she deals with them in productive ways. And that is the first step in helping children learn to manage their own emotions.
Big breath in. Big breath out.
It's complicated, so we breathe. And that's how so when we're ever going crazy, it helps us calm down.
It's based on real life information. Can you make sure your body's sending a message that you're listening to me? Because it hurts my heart when you look the other way when I'm talking. Thanks, dude. My heart feels much better now. Naming my own emotions and modeling for the students how I can attach a emotional vocabulary word to how I'm feeling and then sort of articulate how I'm processing that is a really authentic way for them to sort of pick up that same skill set. And for them to also see that I, as their teacher, am a real human who's having real feelings during the day, but I'm also doing my best to handle them in a way that is safe and kind and productive. So they recognize that having big feelings are part of being human, but being able to name them and do something about them is really the work we're gonna do together.
All right. It's always fun to take a virtual field trip, but it's even more fun to take a real field trip too, because all of these strategies that I'm sharing with you today, all 33 of them are all classroom tested. And if we were to sum up self-regulation in one slide, it's all about making good decisions and being thoughtful of your decision making. And in order to empower our learners, we need to provide choices in our classroom. And this is a few samples of how to very easily implement choices in the classroom. For one thing, you could provide choice boards. So whatever the task at hand is, in differentiation, we say you can differentiate the content, the process, or the product. Here is the products that kids can choose what to do to show what they know. and it can resonate with their own learning style. Another fun thing that I have found that I use in my classroom for choice is the use of learning menus. Now, I like to bring in realia in my classroom, so I collect menus from the local restaurants. This gives the students choices. The entree task is required for all learners, but they can select 2 to 3 side dishes, or for the early finishers, they can choose a dessert for enrichment. Another thing that I have found, and this comes from one of my students who taught 5th grade, I believe, is that I got really tired of cookie cutter book reports. Every book report looked the same. Not here. These kids get to do tic-tac-toe. They get to select how are they going to show their expressions and their impressions of the book that they just read. Maybe if they're into theatrics, they could produce a puppet show retelling the story. Maybe they could complete a story map. Or for the verbal linguistic students, they could write a letter to the author telling how they felt about the book. You can see the various choices here. And if you'd like a copy of this slide, just let me know. Another way to implement choice and to provide diversity in your classroom is the use of centers. Now, I've used centers all the way up through secondary school, even in my graduate classes at the college level. We have some center activities. This is a great way to divide and conquer and to cover a lot of different curriculum areas. Centers should focus on goals, have clear directions, what to do when they're done, include record-keeping systems, be able to monitor their progress. Do you see self-regulation skills emerging from this slide? And most important of all, as we saw in that brief little video clip, the importance of breathing. Breathe in serenity, breathe out distress. Breathe in serenity, breathe out distress. You won't be disappointed to take some breathing breaks during your class. And this is a favorite that I learned in yoga class during this pandemic. It's called lion's breath. So I want you to do it with me, if you wouldn't mind. It really soothes your stress. What you do is you take a deep breath in and then exhale, but this time exhale like you would a roaring lion. So here we go. Isn't that fun? Kids of all ages and abilities love to do lion's breath. Try it. It will relieve your stress just like that. Another activity I do with breathing is, and with motions is, oh no, ah, yes. Oh no, ah, yes. Oh no, ah, yes. Try it. You will feel better just like that. Turn that frown upside down. Ponder the possibilities now of the many activities and strategies I've shared thus far. Bottom line, we've got to help our students overcome the fear of failure. We've got to praise effort at whatever way we can, encouraging students to adopt a growth mindset, create their own learning goals, helps them to self-regulate, and increases their motivation and their success. I have a bulletin board in my classroom when I was a classroom teacher. Change your words, change your mindset. You know, the most important word we can teach our students is yet. I can't do long division yet. Yes. And notice it's not a stop sign. It's a maybe. Now, the other thing, I know that all of you are familiar with timeout corners, etc. Not in my classroom. We have a calm down corner. And in the calm down corner, it could include many different things. If you would like more information on creating your own calm down corner, just email me. I'm happy to share. It could include a coping skills box, visuals for breathing, a mind jar that I'll show you in a minute, or a diagram of positive visualization techniques. This is a favorite of mine. Okay, you go and you just empty a jar. It could be a baby food jar, it could be a bigger jar, whatever. And then you go to your Michael's or your local craft store and get a package of glitter. Fill it with water and watch the glitter fall to the bottom. Have the kids shake it up and then have them slowly breathe in, breathe out as they watch the glitter gently trickle down to the bottom of their mind jar. Oh yeah. How many times have you told kids to calm down, but you don't show them how? Mind jar does it for them. Oh, it's so powerful. Head and heart together has to be together in the classroom. But don't forget yourself. That's why the flight attendants always say to put on your oxygen mask first and then help the person next to you. Self-care is important, just as it is to help de-stress our students. Breathing is one aspect. Encourage kids to have balance in their lives. Have them do achievable, believable, and doable to-do lists. Have them take stretch breaks. Oh, do I have lots of brain breaks for you to try? And all you got to do is ask. I'll be happy to share. Anytime at all, you can get outside. Today is a beautiful sunny day here. It's just a little afternoon in the San Francisco Bay Area. And no, we don't have any of the smoke in the skies today, so thank goodness. Build in exercise wherever you can. Oh yes, we've got to work smarter, not harder. Teach our kids self-regulation skills, helps them work smarter, not harder. And also time management is a self-regulation skill as well. And don't forget, kids need to talk about it. You can talk about it through the use of power cards. You can talk about it through the use of role play. You can just take time out to talk to your students or your own children. Now, in the brief minutes that remain, I'd like to just share with you some reflection activities, because kids need to activate their brain at the beginning of a lesson, and they need time to summarize at the end of a lesson. So no matter how busy your day is, try to build in time for reflection and summarizers. Research states if you spend 3 to 5 minutes reflecting on a lesson, comprehension is increased by 50%. So why wouldn't we do it? One of my favorites is the use of outcome sentences. Notice how these are all open-ended and inclusionary, but it's a way for kids to verbalize what they learned, what they're wondering, and what maybe their next step is. So these are just some open-ended prompts. When it's done verbally, It only takes 5 minutes out of your busy day. It's called an idea wave. When it's done in writing, it's called an exit ticket. I've got tons of ideas for exit tickets that are open-ended and inclusionary and for kids of all ages and abilities. But I want to share with you now just a 1-minute stoplight method that Sarah Wessling uses. She teaches secondary. And
one way that I like to collect formative assessments is using my end of class stoplight method. Before you leave, I'm going to quickly give you a sticky note. I want you to either write one of these 3 things. Students use a Post-it note to, first of all, write either what they learned and post it on the green light, what questions they considered, posted on the yellow light. Did you consider an idea, a question? Or you're going to tell me what you considered. And oftentimes the most important, if anything stopped their learning during class, and put that on the red light. Really helps me understand not only what went well during class, but also what I need to do to prepare for the next day.
Easy peasy. So now I'm looking at my own clock for time management. Let's reflect on key takeaways. I think the biggest takeaway I hope that you got from today's webinar is to bring joy in the classroom for all of your learners, helping all students succeed. But I'm curious, how comfortable are you at this stage for implementing self-regulation in your classroom? Now, I know we only have a small group of in-person participants, but just if you wouldn't mind taking the poll. And Liz, how do they access this poll?
Okay, so I've just launched the poll and we have people already chiming in. We've got 15, 16, the numbers are climbing. I can see how many people have responded. So just so you know out there, everybody, if you're not responding, I can see you. I'm just kidding. Please do respond if you so choose. We'll leave it open probably for about another 30 seconds. I like to leave it open for a good minute to give everybody a chance to jump in.
Okay.
All right.
And we are coming down to the wire. So
yep, get those votes in while you still can. About 10 more seconds, everybody.
Maybe you're not so sure about it. You're somewhat comfortable. You're ready to go. You are a master for self-regulation. What do you think? How are you feeling? Feeling the pulse right here, right now. This is an example, by the way, of taking a poll. For those of you that are still in virtual learning, polls are a great way to help your students become more interactive. It looks like the majority of our participants are either ready to go or somewhat comfortable, and that makes me happy. So you guys get the clapper for that. Oh yeah, yes indeed.
Right.
Now, whoops. Let's get back to that little guy. Let's see, there he is. He's saying it's time to chew it over. I want you to chew over the 33 strategies I've shared thus far, and maybe even take a peek at your A to Z list. What are some key takeaway tools that are important to you? In other words, what did you learn? How can you use it? What are you going to do to take the next step? Goal setting is so important in self-regulation and in moving forward. But keep in mind, don't do it all at once. One strategy at a time, one class at a time, one student at a time. Keep in mind these 6 B's to make it happen. Be prepared, be specific, be strategic, be flexible, be creative, be collaborative. The team approach works so well in helping all students succeed. Supporting all learners is the name of the game. Don't forget brain breaks. This is a balloon brain break I did with teachers in Singapore pre-pandemic. Now, my summarizer for you is the last word. One word to describe this webinar. One word. As a result of tuning in to this webinar, I am feeling. Now, this is an example of a community circle I do when I do in-person seminars, as well as when I teach my students. I gather them around in a circle, have them say one word about how they're feeling. And then they affirm each other with a double snap. So they just spontaneously share. So I'd like you to put your word in the chat box now. And my good friend Liz will share as those words come in. As a result of taking this workshop, I'm feeling blessed.
Lots of great words here. I have energized, empowered, motivated, refreshed, full. I feel full. I feel inspired, knowledge, grateful, a lot of positivity. Everybody's feeling really energized and excited.
Oh, yes, I got my smile on a stick. You've always got to keep a happy face. But thank you so much, Liz. And my word for you is hope. Have only positive expectations. Teach, inspire, and motivate. Last but not least, my initials to you today are TNT. And besides standing for dynamite, that I hope you thought this workshop was, TNT stands for today, not tomorrow. Be the best teacher you can be. Today, not tomorrow. Walk that walk, talk that talk, be that be, and do that do. But don't forget the magic you have inside of you. Thank you all for being with me. And now I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Liz, who is going to tell you about coming attractions from Saddleback.
Oh, yes. Let me tell you who is coming up next week. Let me see here. Next week, we have Sarah Otto from Confianza, and she is the author of The Language Lens. I don't think this is showing. Can you all see my screen?
No.
There's something funny going on here. All right, let's try this again. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay, so this is Sarah Otto. She is the founder and director of Confianza, and she is the author of The Language Lens. Many of you may be familiar with her work. She will be joining us next week to discuss specifically secondary newcomer students and fostering agency. We want our newcomers to be able to get acclimated, get comfortable, and be able to direct their learning and own it. So she's got a lot of great strategies and a lot of great discussion around this topic. So please join us. You can register on our website, and you should be receiving an email as well prompting you to register. I also just wanted to take a minute to remind you that we have our new Go ELL Tween Literacy Library available here at Saddleback. This is great for students in grades 4 through 8. These are content-focused genres written at an accessible reading level, also with a lot of great content area vocabulary included. Great, beautiful books. I highly recommend that you check them out. All right, now as I mentioned earlier, because this session was so jam-packed, we're going to take questions and compile them. And then Dr. Perez will answer them, and I will email them out to those of you who asked specific questions. I did want to say I've been monitoring the chat, and a lot of folks were saying, oh, I want this activity or I want that activity. Can you send it to me? And I have the same thing. I have my A to Z list here, which is sort of overflowing with activities. But I wanted to remind everybody that Dr. Perez's email address is on the last page of your handout. And once you've had a chance to kind of chew on this, as she said, and look through your A to Z list, maybe even watch the recording again tomorrow, you can narrow down what it is that you would like more information on, or if you wanted templates or checklists or choice boards, you can reach out to her for those. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay, that's what we'll do. And then with questions, we'll definitely compile those and get those answers over to you. Looks like we have a couple questions in the Q&A area that I can forward on to you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And thank you for your time today, Dr. Perez. I mean, such a great, energetic session and a lot of great resources. So make sure you check Saddleback out on social media, and we will see everybody next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Liz.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. I hope I hear from you.